Today you're going to learn why you've repeatedly tried and failed at losing weight. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ashley here. Weight loss is something that I cover frequently because I see so many of my patients struggling with it. I repeatedly get this same story of I have tried every diet, I've done all of these things, and I still cannot figure out how to lose weight and make it permanent. So that's why I wanted to talk about why, in my opinion, I think diets fail and how we're set up to fail on them and how we can overcome that. So unfortunately, in medical school, we are not given an adequate amount of training on proper nutrition and diet, and especially when it comes to weight loss. So most of my understanding of the process of weight loss has been all self-study. So it's me going out, reading the books, reading the articles, reading the studies, practicing these things on myself, and figuring out how to get my brain to get on board with what we're doing so that I can do it in a permanent way. And with that, I have lost a significant amount of weight and feel very confident in my ability to keep it off and maintain my weight even as life changes. So that's where I get a lot of my knowledge and background on this process, and I want to share it with you. So before we get started, I just wanted to say that in this video, when I say diet, what I mean is a specific food program or food protocol that you follow with the goal of losing weight. I am not talking about other specialized diets. So things like elimination diets, low FODMAP diets, very specialized diets for certain medical conditions. And I'm also not talking about a diet for optimum health. I do believe that when you go on an eating protocol with the goal of losing weight, this is something that you're going to have to stick to forever. So it should be a healthy diet that serves you in the long run, can give you longevity, can give you permanent wellness. That being said, it is possible to eat a healthy diet and still be overweight or obese on a healthy diet. And that comes in the form of overeating foods that increase your body's weight set point, and those can be healthy foods. And just overeating your proportions of healthy foods in general can lead you to being overweight. So that being said, healthy foods aren't always conducive to weight loss. Additionally, you can overeat healthy foods and still be overweight. So I do think you need to find a healthy diet that you can continue forever that gives you all of the nutrients and support that you need. But I also want you to be aware that even though you're eating healthy, you can be overweight because you're not doing the proper proportions. All right, so when we're talking about diets, the first point that I wanted to make is that diets do actually work. Study after study after study has shown that if you put people on whatever protocol you want, whether that's low carb, whether that's keto, whether that's high protein, whether that's high fat, altering the macronutrients and total calorie content for a certain period of time, especially in a supervised setting, people will lose weight. People's numbers will drop on the scale. That does not mean that physiologically, metabolically, and body composition-wise, your body is responding the way that is necessarily healthy or the way that you want it to. And what I mean by that is that not all diets will put your body into fat burning mode. So where it's preferentially using your fat, your excess fat, as fuel. Also, it may be breaking down your muscle instead of using fat, which is working against your body composition, because what we want to do is lose fat and preserve our muscle mass. So in that setting, I don't think all diets are equal, but diets for the purpose of just getting that number on the scale down all work. Okay. What happens is we stop following them. That is the problem. That is where the diet fails, is that we actually stop doing them. The second point that I want to make is even though we stop following the diet repeatedly, over and over, we get to a point where we say this isn't working and we go back to eating the way that we used to, That does not mean that anything is wrong with you. That is the way that our bodies and our brains are designed to work. That is the way our food society has set up so that we are not successful in this arena. So you've probably heard me talk about the primitive brain before. And our primitive brain hates everything about changing the way we're eating. It says we're very happy, we're very comfortable, this food is easy to obtain, it doesn't cause me any pain, and it brings tons of pleasure to me. So everything about a diet works against that primitive brain's motivational triad. It's uncomfortable. That food initially is not as pleasurable. It's actually causing discomfort to avoid the foods that you used to eat and start eating in this new way. And it usually takes more energy to figure it out initially. That will not last forever, but just know that for a long time, your primitive brain is going to be like, stop this, stop this, stop this. Next, food in our modern day and age is highly addictive. Lots of people, lots of companies, lots of money, lots of research has gone in to making food highly desirable, highly pleasurable, and it sets us up for food addiction. And that's not always addressed in these dietary programs. And the duration of it is not addressed. I usually say it's somewhere in the realm of 2 to 6 weeks to start to really cut back on that drive to overeat those foods that you're addicted to. And so especially for that first 6 weeks, this process can feel miserable. And if your body's not physiologically switching over so that you're actually seeing results on the scale, it's very discouraging. It's like, I'm miserable. I miss that food. It's not doing anything. Why in the world am I following this? And so it doesn't set you up for success or kind of understanding what is going on in your body and your brain initially to kind of get over that hump of food addiction and really start switching over your metabolism to the way that you want it to. Again, just because this process is miserable, your brain is fighting you on every step of the process. When you stop, when you fail, when you do whatever, and you don't successfully complete the diet, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. You're not weak. You're not less than. You're not lacking willpower. It is truly the way our bodies and our brains are set up. All right, so let's say you're able to kind of weather the storm through that food addiction and detox withdrawal. You're able to get over that hump, and then you do start seeing success on the scale. You do start losing weight, and it's very rewarding. That itself gives your body a dopamine hit that you really enjoy seeing. But say that you have a lot of weight to lose. Eventually, your weight loss is going to start to get slower. You're going to start to stall. You're going to start to hit a plateau. And that itself can be very defeating. But it's a normal part of the process. So when you change your diet, and let's say you start eating in a way that supports your body at 40 pounds less than where you started, and you lose those 40 pounds, but you still want to lose another 20 pounds, if you're going into it thinking that I'm supposed to follow this dietary protocol, this is what I need to do to get to my goal weight, and you're still only 2/3 of the way there, you still have that extra 20 pounds to lose, and the diet that was supposed to quote unquote get you there doesn't, that can be very discouraging. And here, your primitive brain will come back in and be like, this has failed. Let's stop. Let's go back to the way we were eating. We were really happy. It'll still be there telling you to take the easy route, the very pleasurable, the very low energy expenditure route, and to stop what you're doing. Additionally, if you have been following this protocol in a way that feels like you're white knuckling it, feels like you're willpowering your way through it, and you really haven't addressed a lot of the over desire for your food. The food addiction is still kind of lingering. Your primitive brain is still really loud and offering a lot of counterproductive advice. If you're white knuckling it and you get to this spot and you feel like you're still not seeing those results, that's exhausting. That is exhausting it's taxing on your brain and your body. And what you need to do right here is say, okay, so this dietary protocol was the foundation of my new body, my weight loss, and now I need to add to it. What are the next steps? Do I need to play around with my exercise? Am I sleeping enough? Am I managing my stress enough? Are my proportions okay? Do I need to mess with my food timing? Those are the things that you sprinkle on top to work your way to that success and lose those extra 20 pounds. But if you're exhausted at this point, the idea of doing more it feels so defeating. And so people get very discouraged when they say, yes, I lost 20 pounds on that program, but it didn't get me down to my goal weight. And kind of throw the towel in and say, okay, well, that didn't work. But again, the diet did work, right? Like you lost weight. You stopped following it. You didn't take the next steps. And again, that circles back to managing your brain, saying, okay, that was step one. Now we're going on to step two so that I can get closer and closer to my goal. And then one of the big final things that I see a lot that lead people to fail on their diet is that they have a slip up. Let's say a holiday comes up, like it's Christmas, and you go off the bandwagon and you eat everything in sight, and you get to January 1st and you've gained 10 pounds of the 40 pounds that you had initially lost, and you're defeated and discouraged and feel like you can't do this. And again, the diet fails, but really you just stopped following it. And that is another big one, is that failures are the stepping stones to success. That is how you learn. The problem is we have failures and we give up. And failure is part of the process. You are going to go off protocol occasionally. Your primitive brain is going to overpower that higher cognitive, more evolved brain, and that's okay. We are humans. That is the way we are designed. What is important is what you do after. Do you say, okay, let's go back and analyze what happened? What made it so that my primitive brain could convince me to eat that instead of sticking to my plan, my food plan, and my food protocol, and not eating that? Go back and try to figure out, what was it? Did you not plan ahead? Did you feel kind of social pressure to eat at like a party or something like that? Figure out the places where you fail and practice on not failing during them. And that is how you reach success. That is how you learn. That is how you get better. That is how you flex that muscle of sticking to what you had planned to eat, staying on protocol. And those little failures, if you're learning from them, are the stepping stones to your success. That is how you ultimately beat this for the last time, instead of looking at it as a catastrophic failure and we're just going back to square one and that diet didn't work for me because I couldn't stick to it. Alrighty, so in summary, how do you go from diets don't work to me to I have figured out the diet that does work for me? Number one is manage food addiction. In my opinion, the two substances that cause the most food addiction is flour and sugar. Flour of all forms. You can't take a different grain product and make it flour and say it's better. It's still going to be highly addictive to your brain. So eliminate flour and sugar and address any of those other food addictions that you know you have. Number two, manage your primitive brain. Your primitive brain isn't going away. It's going to continually offer you options that sound so much more fun than what you know will ultimately get you to your goals. You have to learn to manage it, live with it, understand that it's there and it just wants to keep you alive. It's not trying to sabotage you, but you can override it. Get good at doing that. And then finally, Number 3 is take it one step at a time. Understand that a single protocol is not going to be the be-all, end-all and solve all of your problems. You're going to find that with one protocol, especially like removing flour and sugar, your physiology is going to get a lot better. But then you're going to have to go through the process of fixing the psychological aspect of diets and food and our relationship with food. And you're going to have to figure that out as the next step. And then you're going to have to figure out what's next, lifestyle factors, as the third step. So just understand that this is a process. And stop rushing to get to the end. I know you want to get to the finish line. You want to be at your goal weight and be really excited with the way your body is looking and feeling, and you will get there. But you have to understand that the success comes from the journey. Just like we were saying, like learning from those failures is how you make that success permanent so that you don't backslide to where you were. So go with the process, stop rushing the process, try to understand the process and really understand your body to make this really successful for you. A way that I like to look at it is with weight loss, it's not like you're purchasing like a program, like a train ticket, and then you get on the train and then you just take the train to your destination. You are climbing a mountain, and it's a mountain that doesn't have a pre-laid path. So you start out and you're going through the trees and you're figuring it out on your own. And maybe that was a little bit of a dead end. So you don't go back to the bottom of the mountain, right? You just kind of curve back a little bit to where you were, and then you take a new path. And then maybe you have to do a little bit of rock climbing on the next section to get up a little bit higher. And then you get to that step. And now what do you need to do? Now you have to kind of maybe go through a cave or something like that. It's coming at it from that perspective and understanding that you're learning, you're exploring, but you're constantly making your way to the top. That is the journey of weight loss. It is not a train ride. It is climbing a mountain. Alrighty, so I want to tell you about a couple of programs that I have in the works that can help you along the way to successful weight loss. As I mentioned, really cut out flour and sugar in your diet. Do that for 6 weeks and see what happens to your body. You'll really start to notice physical changes as far as your metabolism and weight loss, but you'll also start to notice that food addiction going away. I also have very strong opinions on other aspects of your diet. So we're talking about the amounts of fats and proteins, as well as food timing. If you want to learn all about what I recommend is your food protocol that will sustain you for life and also addresses the psychological aspect, this primitive brain aspect, touches on all the environmental and lifestyle factors, and gives you hints at where to go if your weight loss plateaus, go to my website and check out the weight loss series. You can head on over to selfhealingdrashley.com, and there's a link to download my steps for jumpstarting your weight loss guide, and then you can go read about the weight loss series there. Additionally, I have 2 courses coming out. One is all about sleep. So if you are a chronic sleep sufferer and think that your weight loss is struggling because of poor sleep, I have a new series coming out called The Sleep Solution. So keep an eye out for that. I'm also planning on releasing a free course on thought work. So addressing some of that emotional component of weight loss, especially those thoughts that your primitive brain offers that don't serve you. So if you want to keep an eye out for those upcoming courses, the best way to do that is getting on my email list. And again, you can go over to selfhealingdrashley.com to sign up. Until next time, self-healers, we'll see you.